Welcome to this latest edition of the RIL DIL podcast. I'm your host, Real Joe Quinn, recording this on a Thursday as we get closer to the NFL season. College football a couple of days away with week 0. So football is basically will be back in full swing before you know it. From this weekend until February. So definitely an exciting time for all the football fans out there. We will talk a little bit about the NFC West with 3 questions. But I want to begin, well, first, some Real Deal podcast housekeeping. We will not be doing multiple episodes of Snowfall a week. We're going to trim it down to one because of football, because of NFL, and soon the NBA coming back. We're going to trim that to one episode a week of Snowfall. So just keep that in mind. We will begin this weekend, season 2. Enjoyed season 1. So just a little housekeeping for my audience out there. Before we get into the NFC West, wanted to talk about this Stephon Diggs situation in Buffalo, with him apparently being unhappy. You have Stephen A's report that he wants out, he wants out. Diggs completely refuted that report. And I want to be honest with you, I came on here ready to basically rip Stephon Diggs a new one from a standpoint of, like, you're on a championship team, you're playing with a great quarterback, a legit top 5 organization right now. Like, what are you complaining about? I really came on with that mindset before I did some more digging, no pun intended. And before I listened to his press conference, he did a press conference a couple of weeks back, and I want to be honest with you, he handled himself as well as, first of all, he didn't sound like a malcontent at all. He didn't sound like either that or he's one of the great athlete actors of all time. He sounded like a guy who not only wanted to be in Buffalo, but I really started like thinking, like, when you really break this down, he's 29 years old, says he has more football behind him than ahead of him, and he understands that Super Bowl windows can close fast. So he is basically, been, upset or unhappy about, Buffalo not being able to get over the hump and get to a Super Bowl, or not, let alone win a Super Bowl, not even get to a Super Bowl. And I think that, like, yeah, like, I mean, we get on guys for a lot of things in sports that are non-sports related, greed, guys, sports and trades, and things of that nature. I'm looking at this guy just wants to win. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. This guy just wants to win. I'll read a quote from one of the press conference. I've got more football behind me than I do in front of me. Diggs said, according to Syracuse.com, my main focus and my only focus is winning Super Bowls. I mean, everybody says they want a Super Bowl, but we've had legitimate chances at this thing. We've had the team, we've had the coaches, we've had everything we needed. So that doesn't sound like a guy that is not happy playing in Buffalo. Like, normally you hear guys complain, they're going to point the finger at somebody, a coach, a general manager, a player, the team trainer. They're going to point somebody. There was no finger pointing at all. There was no finger pointing from Diggs whatsoever. So like I said, I was thoroughly impressed with his handling of the press conference. And I can't. Like I can't get on here and destroy him for wanting to win. He missed part of the first mini camp or what have you. He's back in practice now. This is not a money situation. He's not pointing fingers. And based off the press conference and based off some of the things I've read and heard him say, I don't think he wants out of Buffalo, to be honest with you. Because frankly, it would make zero sense for him to want out of Buffalo. During that press conference, he says, I've gotten at least 100 targets since I got to Buffalo. In Buffalo for like, 4 or 5, at least 4 years. So it's not, again, he's making top money, top dollar for a receiver. He's on a championship caliber team, and he gets the ball. Like, there's no reason for him to want out of Buffalo. There are not that many better situations in the NFL than what the Buffalo Bills have as far as talent, coaching, quarterbacking. Like, there's just not. They are loaded. Now, there might be some that say they have a chance to take a step back this year. We'll see. That team goes in as a legit Super Bowl contender. I don't care what nobody says. They were 13-3 last year. The year before last, they were in the AFC Championship. Or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they were in the AFC Championship. The year before last, they lost one of the great classic playoff games of all time. Last year was a major disappointment in terms of them getting embarrassed by Cincinnati. But for the last 3 years, the last 2 years or so, they've had championship caliber teams as far as talent. And he says that. So I just see a guy, to be honest with you, who wants to win. I can't call it anywhere else. I can't see it nowhere else. Nowhere else. Like, I can't sit here and because again, it does not make sense for him to want out of Buffalo. It just doesn't make sense at all. But again, I could be wrong. There could be more. There could be more to this than what is actually coming out. Is that possible on the table? Sure. It's always a possibility. But I feel like in today's day and age, social media, the way the players talk, the way the media talks, the way these stories get leaked, the way things just come out, like, no one in sports can keep a secret. No one. There's no stuff does not get very few things get unreported, especially when it comes to some things that are going on in the locker room, or players unhappy, or coaches unhappy, owners unhappy. If someone's unhappy, then you're gonna find out about it. Period. This is just podcasting. This is the world we live in. Their privacy is like, privacy is a lost art in our society, in the sports society. Everybody wants attention of some sort. Like, attention is a new drug. Not only in society and sports as well. So again, I think Diggs, to me, is coming from a place of just wanting to win very badly. We'll see. The season will tell it all. We'll see. Now, again, he has to handle himself a little bit better as far as some of the on the sideline antics. A little bit got a little like, come on, man. Like, we know we don't want to win, but you don't want to win more than everybody else. I don't get the sense that, like, I don't get the sense that on that team that he wants to win so like 10 times worse than everybody else. I like, he needs to pipe down a little bit from that standpoint. Again, Diggs is a great player. He's been a top receiver like the last 4 or 5 years. And it might be, listen, I'll just thought about this. They're guys like Stephon Diggs are somewhat few and far between. Normally, you're looking at guys who just want out for the sake of wanting out, or it's just about money, or they don't get along with the owner, or they're not getting along with the coach, or it's somebody else's fault. He literally, during that press conference, did not point the finger at anyone. Like, that's the thing that stood out. We live in a world, especially a sports world, where some of these guys lack accountability, and they will quickly throw any and everybody under the bus in a heartbeat. That wasn't the case. So that's why it came off to me as like, okay, this really could be something like, we might be overthinking this in terms of thinking that there's something him and Josh Allen, him with the coach. It might just be like, this guy wants to win very, very badly, and feels that those opportunities are slipping away as the years pass. So, I think that again, this was a newsworthy story. So you can't, like, if a guy's not happy, of his magnitude in the locker room, that could curtail, that could kill a season like that. So this was a big story. But I don't anticipate that first of all, they can't release him. There's too much, it counts too much against the salary cap. That would be a disaster. That's not going to happen. You're not going to trade him. He will not. I don't see that happening as well. They're not that deep at the receiver. Like the receiver, he can't be, he's not going to get traded. Like that's not even the option to me. To trade him, to be honest with you. So you're talking about trading him, then you're talking about, are you not rebuilding, but you're talking about, unless he just goes berserk in the locker room and becomes a cancer, which I don't see happening, to be honest with you. Teammates love him. I haven't heard anything from his teammates say anything bad about him. He's a captain on the team. He's been a captain for the last 3 years. He has a lot of respect in that locker room. There's a tremendous amount of, he's well respected in that locker room. So I'm not going to say this is much to do about nothing, because the cryptic tweet, some of the stuff that happened at the end of last season. So this was something, but it just wasn't. It's just not something that, to me, that's going to keep Buffalo from competing for an AFC Championship and also a possible Super Bowl berth.
Are you the best point guard ever?
Yes. Yes. It's me and Magic. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
Deep dive for this edition of the Real Deal podcast. Magic versus Curry. Stephen Curry went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast a couple of days ago and said that he feels like he's the greatest point guard of all time. Now, I'll give you some context. He didn't just come out and say it just out of nowhere. He was asked a question, by Gilbert Arenas, do you believe that you're the best point guard of all time? Do you believe you're the greatest point guard of all time? He said, yeah, basically is, me and Magic. And he was very complimentary of Magic Johnson, of course. But, he talked his shit. Like, hey, I do feel like I'm the best point guard of all time. Gilbert Arenas tried to make the point, well, as a player, in terms of the size and things of that nature, in terms of the size and physicality, I look at Magic, but in terms of, the impact of the game and seeing how he's influenced a generation, you got it from that standpoint. So, listen, Gilbert was basically, he's on his podcast. Gilbert kind of, curtailed to him, which is fine, whatever from that standpoint. Here's what I say before I'll get into the comparison. And by the way, I'm a Magic guy, Laker fan. Everybody knows this, that knows me. But it is a conversation first of all, it has become a legit conversation. There was a time that I wouldn't even talked about this. Like, I would have been like, no, you're kidding me. He is right on Magic's heels right now. I mean, he's right there with Magic Johnson. Right there. Like, he is a clear-cut number 2 point guard of all time. Clear-cut second best point guard of all time. That's not even debate from that standpoint. He's put the time in, 4 rings, the impact on the game. We've never seen a player like him that can shoot the ball the way he can shoot the ball. Greatest shooter of all time. And he, frankly, is one of the greatest winners from this generation. He is, like, in my opinion, the Tim Duncan. As a leader, a teammate, he is like the Tim Duncan of this generation. And Steph is a great, great player, all-time great player. That goes without saying. But I wonder, when I hear someone who is as humble, and Steph is humble, listen, Steph gets on the court, and he could be an ass on the court, and he'll taunt he will destroy you and kind of taunt with you. Steph does some asshole shit on the court. I would want to punch Steph in the face because he'll just toy with you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But as a man, he's a Christian family man. He is as humble. Deals with the media, handles himself with the media with style and grace. I was kind of surprised that he came out and said this, to be honest with you. And I just wonder if that is just where we're at now in terms of athletes, in terms of guys feeling like that is how they have to brand themselves once they get to a certain level to say, I'm the GOAT. Now, the guy who to me is the greatest basketball player of all time has never said that he was the GOAT. He was said it before him, talking in terms of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, you can say, listen, Michael Jordan, you watch the Last Dance. Michael Jordan came off as a pure narcissist, and we did a podcast on it, 5 episodes, and we discussed in detail. Rob Sapp, Chad Quinn, salute to them in detail how narcissistic that Michael Jordan was and is. We get it. But to his credit, he has never said that I'm the GOAT. He's always said that you can't compare eras, so on and so on, and it took it from there. He's never said that. Now, we've heard LeBron say it, and LeBron been pumping himself as that for like the last 7 years. Remember, LeBron said this in like 2016 after they took out Golden State in that 3 games down, from being down 3 games to 1. And again, I just wonder if guys get to that level that they feel like they have to say that, like it's part of the branding, part of their marketing, that they feel the need to say that. It is, to me, I've always felt better about someone complimenting me than me complimenting myself. That's just that's just me. Always that. And again, I just think that just might be the era that we're in right now, to be honest with you. As far as the comparison goes, listen, it's very close. But there are 3 reasons why. And they've had similar careers, to be honest with you. Steph with the 5 straight finals from 2015 to 2019. Magic Johnson went to 4 straight finals from 83 to from 82 to 85. From 82 to 85, Magic Johnson with the 4 straight finals. Both that went won back-to-back championships. Both of them have played on super teams. Magic's playoff record 32-8. Steph's playoff record 23-5. Both of them have basically, when they get in the playoffs, they're basically championship or conference finals at the least. They don't rarely have they been eliminated in the first rounds and go home early. They both mostly make deep runs into the playoffs when they get their teams there. Here's the difference to me. This is why I have to give it to Magic right now. Besides the obvious in terms of having one more ring, Steph was never regarded as the best player in the league. He was close. 2016, if they take out LeBron, they win their 2nd straight championship. He's coming off a unanimous MVP. He wins Finals MVP. We probably would have walked away from that season saying that he's the best player in the league. But they blew a 3-1 lead, and LeBron completely obliterated him in that finals. Magic, for a 3-year period, say from 87 to 90, was the best player in the league. Jordan was the most exciting, the most talented. He hadn't won yet. Magic was the best player in the league for 3 years. Once he hit that hook shot to beat Boston, he hit that hook shot to take control of that series in 87. They ended up winning that series 4-2. He took the mantle from Larry Bird as the best player in the league, and he kept it for at least 3 years. Magic takes a team in 1991 that really didn't have any business going to the NBA Finals. Go look at that roster in 91. Eldon Campbell, an older James Worthy, an older Byron Scott, David Rivers. Like that was not a Bloody Divac, nice player, a rookie. Bloody Divac was a rookie, I believe, that year. That was not a big time team. That was not a champ. They shouldn't have beat Portland in that series in the Western Conference Finals that year. They shouldn't have. Portland probably kicking themselves for not winning that series. Of course, they probably would have lost to the Bulls like they did in 92, but that's for 91. That 91 Lakers team wasn't any good. And Magic carried them to the finals before they got taken out by the Bulls. Curry doesn't have that on his resume from that standpoint of carrying a team that probably wasn't that good to a finals, let alone championship. Now, the last championship Curry won again, Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are without question Hall of Fame players. Magic didn't, those, you know, like I said, he had older James Worthy and a bunch of role players. Also, I think people forget that Magic went to the 9 finals in 12 years. Okay, 9 finals in 12 years. So, you know, I think, you know, that recently, but, you know, people don't understand just how dominant Magic was. And I get a sense that, you know, people just look at, you know, shooting and scoring. It's not like Magic was averaging 8 points a game or 10 points a game. Magic was a career 19 points per game, averaged 19 points a game for his career. Magic could score if he wanted to. He didn't have to score. That wasn't what Magic did. What was called for what he was called to do. Magic could dominate a game. Like, he could be the best player on the floor, but by only taking like 5 shots. He could dominate with his passing, his rebounding, his just, you know, pushing the pace, his sheer just physicality. He could post up. Like, I just don't get a sense that people I don't. Steph can dominate a game through shooting. Steph is not. Neither one of them are great defensive players. So we're strictly talking offense. But, you know, if Steph's not, if Curry's not making shots, yeah, he can still impact the game because of how the defenses rotate to him, and he can get other people's shots and layups. But he can't dominate a game if he's not making shots. Magic could dominate a game without making shots, without scoring. He doesn't. Magic did not need to score to dominate. That is the difference to me. Now, again, Curry is knocking on Magic's heels. He's very close. He's very close. Like, a lot closer than I ever thought any point guard would ever get, to be honest with you. But he's not quite there yet. Not there yet. And again, he's in the prime of his career. He's at an extended prime. He's going to end up having longevity over Magic. But we're talking peak Magic versus peak Curry. I'm taking peak Magic. And you know, I hear a lot of these arguments about, well, who would you put on an all-time great team? And in today's game, you would want Curry because of shooting. First of all, if I had an all-time great team with Jordan, let's say, you know, if you want, for argument's sake, put Kareem on there, you want to put Tim Duncan on there. I need someone who is a distributor. LeBron on there. I don't need a scorer. I don't care. My point guard doesn't have to have a great jump shot or score the basketball. He has to set people up. That's all I want my point guard to do: set people up. And at 6'9", Magic can rebound, start a fast break, and you know, it's 2 points the other way. So I don't need score. I don't need my point guard to be able to score, having on an all-time great team. If that's the argument we're making. Again, as far as winning, both of these guys are winners. Both of these guys are great leaders. Both of these guys are you want leading your franchises. Both of these guys are about winning and winning only. So from that standpoint, they're roughly basically the same. And they both have played with a shitload of talent. And Hall of Famers. So that kind of cancels itself out. They both have played on multiple super teams. Curry has two super team championships. Magic probably has about 3, to be honest with you. No, I don't know if that 88 Lakers team wasn't a super team because Curry was old. I would say the 85 Lakers, 85, I would say 85 and 87. I'm not even Magic as a rookie, that wasn't a super team. Green was great, and they had like a lot of, I can't call it that super team. It's a very, very good team, not a super team. I would say that the super team, the great super team Laker teams, maybe even 82, 85, 87. Okay, so 3. So 3, that's fine. That's 3. But again, this is a very, it's a great sports debate. It's a great basketball debate. 2 totally different players, 2 completely different styles of play. Like Curry, the scorer, Magic, the facilitator, and rebounding and what have you. And Curry, by the way, has improved his all-around game as well, to his credit. And defensively, Curry has improved. I love Steph Curry. I love his game. He's the most exciting player to watch in the NBA. He's absolutely must-see TV right now. But he's not quite there yet. Close, but not quite there as far as Matt, greatest point guard. Three questions for the NFL. We continue to give a preview to the NFL season, going by division. This week we are on the NFC West. Three questions that could define the division. First, the 49ers starting quarterback. It was announced that Brock Purdy will be the starting quarterback. Sam Darnold is number 2. Trey Lance is number 3. And there are speculation that Trey Lance could get moved. Listen, the 49ers have been knocking at the door for the last couple of years. They went to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Last year, they've been to multiple NFC championships. They've had great second half runs. They've been a tremendous playoff team. They've been one of the better. They've been probably the best non-playoff team, the best non-Super Bowl winning team in the playoffs over the last 3 or 4 years that just hasn't been able to get over the hump. They have a championship caliber team. We know how great the defensive line, the defensive front seven is. We know that they can run the ball. We know how great Deebo Samuel is. That quarterback position is going to be that is one of the biggest questions in the league, because if Brock Purdy can come back healthy and could pick up where he left off last season, they are a legit championship team. Now, I believe that they're going to go as far as he takes them. Forget about Sam Darnold. You don't want him to see the field unless it's some garbage time. The Trey Lance experiment is over to me. I just don't see Trey Lance. That's going to go down as a bust. And you think about all the draft, you think about what they gave up to get him. It's really one of the most disappointing trades in the last decade. They gave up three first-round picks to move up to get him, and he's going to end up probably traded. Like that. Think about that for a second. So their quarterback situation could really shift the landscape of the NFL. I mean, it could really shift the landscape of the NFC without question. It could have one of the biggest question marks in the NFC, if not the league, with that quarterback situation. So that will definitely define that division. That's definitely a question, a defining question for that division. And again, they need to go this year. Like they're not. We talk about Buffalo and them knocking on the door and leaving chances out there to where they can win the Super Bowl. San Francisco is absolutely in the same boat. Like they don't have that many opportunities left with this roster before they have to kind of retool and reload. Listen, unless you're Kansas City, you get a couple of knocks at the door, and if you don't push the door down, it's reloading time and retooling time. And your retooling will not look like Kansas City's retooling. Your retooling might look like a couple of seasons where you don't make the playoffs. And the Rams return to the playoffs? Hell no. And you look at the Rams, they are starting to pay the piper for all those traded picks, all those first-round draft picks they've traded. They haven't had a first-round draft pick since 2016. Now, Jalen Ramsey is gone. Their over and under is 6.5 wins, which probably is about right. Now, they still have top players in Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald in Cooper Kupp. So Aaron Donald is still arguably one of the best players in all football, even though he came off a relatively off season for him. Last year, Cooper Kupp is still, I think, a top wide receiver. But the problem with the Rams is the lack of depth at multiple spots on the opposite line, just all around their roster. And that's what happens when you trade every first round pick, trying to go all in for a championship which they won 2 years ago. So at a certain point, when you do that, you have to pay the piper at a certain point. Injuries are going to occur. Guys getting traded. Now they're starting to pay the piper for that. And again, I don't have any real faith in this team. Matthew Stafford is not getting any younger. Stafford, we know, is not a guy that he was perfect for this team with all the talent that they had to put them over the top versus Jared Goff. He was perfect a couple years ago when they got him. Now, but we all know his time in Detroit. He's not a guy that's going to elevate a team that is lacking talent or lacking depth. That's just not. He's not on that level. He's a very good player, but he's not he's not an all-time great here. He's not going to elevate your roster if your roster is lacking depth or star power. And right now, they're lacking both. They have a couple of big names, and that's it. You look at that roster. This is not a very good roster at all, and their room for error is minuscule. They get the wrong guy injured. It doesn't have to be Stafford. It doesn't even have to be Aaron Donald. But they get a couple of injuries. That depth could get exposed. Will get exposed quickly. Okay, so I don't see them making the playoffs, even though it's much easier to make the playoffs than with the extra spot. I see a 6-11 type year, maybe 7-10 if they're lucky. If they overachieve, maybe 7-10. But they're not a 500 team. They're not a playoff team. They will have a long year. This is going to be a rebuilding process, and they're probably going to tear this thing completely apart. To be honest with you, before it gets good again. Can Jonathan Gannon turn around Kyler Murray? So we all know, of course, Kyler Murray came off the ACL injury back in December. Last December 12th against New England. He probably won't be back. He's probably going to miss at least the first 6 weeks and won't be back till probably like late October, early November, if that. Now, despite the immaturity, despite the terrible playoff game a couple years ago, he still, for his career, is 84-41 as far as his touchdowns to interceptions. 84 touchdowns, 41 interceptions, 23 rushing touchdowns, and he's only 26. Without question, there's still gas left, a lot of gas left in the tank. He's young. I would not, and you've heard trade rumors. You've heard, can he be a franchise guy? Can he lead a franchise? He's too talented to give up on. He just is. Like, you can't, I as an owner, I have to find the people, personnel wise, as far as coaching, general manager wise, vice and all, as far as my infrastructure of my franchise, to say, you need to fix him. We're not trading him. You fix him. Because first of all, you've invested too much with the contract. And number two, again, he is still a talented player. He hasn't matured. That's all there is to it. He has to mature. He has to grow up. He has to start taking accountability for his actions. Stop pointing the fingers at everybody else except himself. Okay, that's cool, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up on him. Like, that doesn't mean I want to trade him. Like, no, it is damn near impossible to find a quarterback. There's not a quarterback that you will find that has his upside right now that you can move him for. And if you want to go the route of trying to tank and get, good luck trying to get Caleb Williams. A lot of people are going to try to get Caleb Williams for USC. The quarterback, the quarterback draft is not that strong this year. There's one guy that I see that I would want, and that's Caleb Williams out of USC. Everybody else is a major question mark. So you're not tanking does not do it for you. This roster now, what they have going for them, they will have 6 top draft picks. They will have 6 of the top 100 draft picks in 2024. William Baker could be on the move. He's a talented player, and that way you can give them more picks per se. This is a year for them to fix Kyler Murray. You want to win some games. You want to try to make the playoffs. Of course, most teams do, but this is about Kyler Murray to me. Like, their year is about Kyler Murray, and that's all there is to it. Like, you have to, if I don't feel like I have the people in my organization that can fix him, then I need to get new people. You got a new coach. They have some nice pieces. The roster is not terrible. Now they lost some people, DeAndre Hopkins, JJ Watt, and what have you. But there's still some talent on that team. But they need to get Kyler Murray healthy and get him back on the right track. His development this year is more important than their winning, to be honest with you. It really is from that standpoint. That is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Just looking at this division is not very strong at all. Seattle might have San Francisco, I think, is the best team. Seattle, outside of San Francisco probably is the most stable. We'll see if Geno Smith can repeat what he did last season. Who knows? But this is not very strong. I don't think I'm not in love with this division by any stretch of imagination. You have two teams that I just don't think that Arizona and the Rams are playoff caliber teams. I don't think either one of those teams. I believe only one team is coming out this division to make the playoffs. To be perfectly honest with you, and that'll probably be San Francisco. So there are your three questions for the NFC West. I'm not even, I have Sha'Carri Richardson. Look, I had on here. I didn't even plan on talking about it, but in terms of my real thoughts, listen, she has been phenomenal this summer as far as what she's been able to do. But let's not go crazy as far let's not make this a scene like some of the criticism of her was not fair, because I don't believe that. Like, some of the stuff that she did was self-inflicted. Let's not make her out to be like, I hear this story of redemption. Now, if she wants to go out there and use it as motivation, that's fine. That's what athletes do. She has every right to do that. But I don't get the sense that it was the world against Sha'Carri Richardson and she was getting picked on. I don't want to hear that narrative, because it's just not true. She was, first of all, she wasn't winning a lot of races a couple years ago. So that was the main criticism of her. Like, she's not winning races. So when you start winning, I heard a lot of people, especially on the internet say, well, everybody, everybody fucks with you when you're on top. When you're not winning, nobody wants to mess with you. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. If you're not winning, then if you're not winning races, then no one wants to deal with your attitude or with your mistreatment of people, per se. So yeah, you're not going to get like that type of love. I forgot the name of the veteran sprinter that she came at who was trying to help her out. It wasn't Gail Devers. I forgot the name. It was one of the legendary sprinters, but she kind of pissed a lot of people off. She was kind of too arrogant, considering that she hadn't really won anything like that. Now she's winning, cool. She's great for the sport. She's exciting, but I don't want to sit here and make it seem like that some of that criticism was not warranted, because it was. So it's great that she's winning. I'm excited for her future. Hopefully this carries her over into the Olympics. She would be one of the biggest stars in the Olympics without question. That's not even a question. But I'm not going to be there. I'm not there in terms of, all the criticism was unfair and, it was her. It was her against the world. I'm not there from that standpoint. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I will see you next time. You will hear from me this weekend with the season 2, episode 1 of our looking back at the hit show Snowfall. Have a great rest of your evening. So long.